Hello students, today we're going to check our homework. We're going to learn about number line, histogram, and box plots, and you will be able to do 12.2. Today students will be able to create and compare graphs, and that includes number lines, histograms, and box plots. So in class I asked, how many books do you read per year? And so these are the answers that I got. So it's 2, 0, 1, 0, 1, 5, 4, 5, 5, 6, and 4. And so first I asked them to graph it on a number line, which we did for the previous lesson already. But we're just going to see it here again so that we can compare it to the other graphs. And so the number line, we put 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So when you graph it on a number line, all it's asking is, okay, how many? 2, a 0, 1, a 0, 1, 5, 4, 5, 5, 6, and 4. Okay, and we can see how the data is spread, and comparing like the range from 0 to 6, 6 minus 0 is 6. So we can see that in the middle there are no one who read 3 books. So most of them are reading even on the upper of the data given, which is 4, 5, and 6, or they're reading very little or nothing, but nothing in the middle, right? So we can see how spread our information is here by looking at how many x's we have on top of each number. So I guess we can talk about advantages and disadvantages of this type of graph. Advantages and disadvantages. So one advantage can be said that each person, each student is represented in here by an X. So we can determine individual data, right? So that's an advantage. We can determine individual data. That's one thing. The other thing is that we can easily recognize outliers. So like if there was a person that read like 50 books and it was all the way alone, then you can easily recognize those. Okay, easy to recognize outliers. Another advantage is that you can get the range easily because you get the biggest and the smallest number in here. So easy to obtain the range. And some of you guys said that it's very explicit. Why explicit? I think this goes in hand with determining individual data because it's every single one. Okay, what are some disadvantages? The disadvantages is that you have to mark each individual one. So having to mark each individual one. Okay, another thing or advantage that I can see is that you can see where the data stands or where it clusters. Easy to see groups where the data clusters. Okay? And if you can think of other advantages and disadvantages, please share with me. Okay, so for the same data, we're now going to create a histogram. And a histogram, it's a little bit like it looks similar to a bar graph. The only difference is that the histogram is to tell us the frequency of something happening. As for there are others, like the bar graphs, it just gives you data and it can vary on the y-axis. But in here, it will always be the frequency or count of something happening. Frequency or count of something happening. For example, in here, I'm gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the histograms will always be the same width, more or less, with a lot of imagination. And the only thing is that this is in blocks of something, okay? That's the only thing. For example, we can say from 0 to 1, from 2 to 3, how many people read from 4 to 5, and then from 6 to 7. So if we looking here, 0 to 1, 0 and 1s will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 people read from 0 to 1. How many people read from 2 to 3 books? Only one person reads 2 to 3 books. Okay, so it looks like a bar graph, but again, the y-axis tells me how many do this. Books we read per year. And we should be reading more, okay? Reading is very important. How many people read from 4 to 5 books? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 people read from 4 to 5 books. And how many people read from 6 to 7? We have a 6 in there, so only one person. So again, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this graph? Well, what I like is that I can easily see the spread again. Easy to see where data is easy to see spread of data. And I can right now think of a disadvantage because this is created in groups of, right? In groups of every 2 books. It's not easy to see, whoa, this is one person, but is that person reading 6 books or 7 books? So it's not clear because, especially for bigger data that we're gonna be checking out later, it's not clear specifically for individual data. So we cannot determine individual data. Again, why? Because in here, of those 5 people, we don't know how many are reading 4, how many are reading 5. From this person, we don't know if that person is reading 2 or 3. From these 4 people, we don't know if they're reading 0 books or 1 book per year. So we cannot determine individual data. What's another either advantage or disadvantage that you can think of? well, maybe it's just a visual of just seeing how spread data is, and I can't think of something else, but that's basically what it would be, just a visual to see where that data is clustered, basically. Another disadvantage is you cannot see the range, again, because we don't know, maybe all 4 people are in one books, and if we think that the range would be 7 minus 0, that will be an error, right? So we cannot find the range or the median for that matter, nor the median or mode. Why not the mode? Because again, we don't know, it looks like this is the mode, but again, we don't know if it's 4 or 5, or maybe neither one, because maybe it's just half and half, or actually not half and half, but it could be only 3 of one and the other, so it's not easy to find either range, mean, or median, or mode. Okay, so it's not easy to find that information in here. Okay, so we'll go back again to that data, and finally we're going to be graphing a box and whisker with that same information. Box and whisker, yes, is that little hair or huge hair that comes on the sides of the mouth of a cat, whiskers, and I'll tell you why it's called like that. Well, you'll see in the picture, but now we also call the box and whisker graph, it's also called a box plot. Okay, either way, they're referring to the same thing. And so for the box and whisker, you need 2 things. The first thing is to put this in order. So you have 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, no 3s, 4, 4, and then 5, 5, 5, and 6. So I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so in here you're gonna need 5 pieces of information, and the easiest ones to find, it's my smallest and my largest. Okay, so the least value and the greatest value. Greatest value. And the next one that you need is the median, which we already learned to find in the previous lesson. The median is the one that is in the middle. So all you have to do is cross from each side, you cross from each side, you cross one from each side, you cross one from each side. And so that will be your median. Median, which in here, we're also gonna call it quartile, second quartile. Okay. Also, when you have only one number in the median, you eliminate that and you're gonna have some data to the left. Now you're gonna find, including this least value, you're gonna find the median for this part of the data. And so let me cover that in here. So I'm covering the median only, okay? So I'm gonna cover one from each side, and so my median of the dolored part of the data is 1, which is gonna be called my first quartile. And in some cases, it's also called the lower quartile. Okay. Now I'm gonna cover again my medium for the whole data, and I'm gonna only have the medium of the upper part of the data. So again, I'm gonna cover the 4 and the 6, the 5 and the 5, and so my medium in here is 5. We're gonna call this the third quartile, but it's also called upper quartile. And so these are the 5 pieces of information that you will need to create a box plot. And so let's start with that. What you're gonna do is get your lowest and highest, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can continue, but that's okay, you don't need to. I just have this extra space. And what we're gonna need is the quartiles numbers, 1, 4, and 5. So it's gonna be 1, and I'm gonna create a vertical line in here, 1, also at 4, and also at 5. And that's gonna form my box by connecting the top part of each line. Okay, that's my box. Now I'm gonna create the 0. I'm gonna find the 0 for which is my least and my greatest. I'm gonna find that, and I'm just gonna put a little dot on each number and connect those dots to the middle of the box. Those are my whiskers, bigotes, the whiskers of the cat. I'm just kidding. So that's my box and whiskers. And so what does this information represent? It means that 25% of my data is right here. That's why it's quartile, from quarts, from quarter, from 1/4. Okay, 25% of my data stands here. 25% of my data stands here between 4 and 5, and 25% of my data, my upper 25%, stands from 5 to 6. So basically this is just dividing into fourths or into 25%. Why is this usual? No. Why is this useful? Because if you want to see, especially for maybe teachers, where the half of the class, like what are they doing, or the lower half, what's happening to them, what's the range of those are the things that you could probably observe in here. And so advantages and disadvantages. Well, it's easy to see of the 4 quartiles. Easy to see 4 quartiles. And also to see where the upper, easy to see where half of the group stands. Okay, either upper half or lower half, we can compare those. The disadvantages is that for some people it can be a little bit more confusing. Only for 1 or 2 people. More confusing. Sorry about that. I can't talk and write at the same time. Some people say more work, because it has a lot of procedure to find each part. We cannot see individual data. And we cannot see outliers. Why can't we see outliers? Because let's say that if this was all the way to 25, we don't know if there were many other numbers in the middle, right? Let's say that one person reads 25 books and the whisker is like this. But again, that will be 25%, and we don't know if there were many close to the 25 or it's only one person. We can't see that. Okay. I think I think I want to give you one more example. I was going to leave it at that, but let me give you one more example for the whisker and box, because sometimes we're going to have data that is not odd, like we had 11 people in here. So I asked people living in their household, and these are the numbers that they gave me: 7, 10, 5, 12, 2, 6, 7, 4, 10, 6, 7, and 12. I'm just going to put it in here. Remember that we need to put it in order first. And so the first one would be 2. Then I have 4, 5, 6, 6. Then I have 7, 7, 7. Then I have 10 and 10. And then I have 12 and 12. Again, I want to find my median. And I find that my median is here. But again, since it's not a number, we're going to add the 7 plus 7 divided by 2, which is 14 divided by 2, which is equals to 7. So my median will be 7, okay? However, since my median is 2 numbers, when that happens, I'm going to have to, I can't cover both of them. I'm going to have to leave one of them to be part of this data to find the second quartile. Again, since it's not just one number, for these 2 numbers, that's going to be part of this lower data. So let me cover that with this. Only covering one, okay? And I start finding the median of the lower data. So it's going to be 1, 1. And so my median for the lower data is this one again. So I add 5 plus 6 divided by 2, which is 11 divided by 2, which is equals to 5.5. I added it 2 and divided by 2, okay? So it's 5.5 for my second quartile. And I have, of course, my least. So least, second quartile, my median. For the other third quartile, remember I need the median of the upper data, and so I'm going to have to, again, remember this, I cover only one, and make this part of the upper data. So I'm going to find the median, and this is easy because they have the same. So 10 plus 10 divided by 2, 20 divided by 2, which is 10. So in here, it's going to be 10, which is the third quartile or upper quartile. Okay, and finally my greatest. So now I have all the data points that I need to be able to graph. And so I have from 2 to 12, I can just start at 0, it doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and it can go on until you want. It's up to you. And remember that to graph the box, I graph these 3 medians. So it's a 5.5. It's going to be in the middle of 5 and 6. I have my 7, and I have my 10. And I connect those for my box. I get this least and greatest, which is 2, and put the little dot, the 2 and the 12, and I connect my box to that, to those points to make my whiskers. Again, this is in case you have even number of data, and so now you can do 12.2.